I'm feeling so light, hearing the angelic sounds of our ancestors singing through the night for the supernova body. Listen to the realms of beyond, sacred wisdom healing my mind. Chakras align when I listen to supernova day. It's more than a podcast, it's a whole vibe. Expanding consciousness as you shift your mind. Tune into the supernova body so you can raise your vibration. Don't be afraid to make changes and create a new you. It's more than a podcast, it's a whole vibe. Expanding consciousness as you shift your mind. Supernova body, a cosmic party. New way of life, it's a supernova body. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Supernova Body Podcast. I am your host, Simone Michelle, and we are on episode 18 of season 2. So yes, that's where we are. And this is the last episode. Me and my tongue. Okay. So let me explain. My tongue is connected at the tip right there. And sometimes babies have it and they usually just cut it and it gives them easier. But this is like what tongue tied means. That is what it means. Like my tongue is literally connected at the tip. And because of that, sometimes I stumble. Okay? It is not my intent, but my tongue is tied. It's doing its own thing, okay? And I'm okay with that. I have no desire to change that. It is what it is. Either you love me and accept me in my fullness, or you don't. And you won't, and that's okay. So do it or don't. It's up to you. Free will, if you will. So today we are going to talk about crystals and the biblical perspective versus the global spiritual practice. And yeah. And we're gonna do that because I don't know if you could see, but I've got a little collection right here. And I have the collection right there because it's my business to have them and I like them. And I believe that minerals are beneficial for our body, whether they're in herbal form or liquid form, or they're the sun, or whatever. Elements are good. Elements are good for us. And rocks of any kind, they have benefits. Okay? Iron has benefits for anemic people. That is a mineral. And it comes in ore. Okay? So everything has a purpose. People really appreciate the value of certain minerals like diamonds and gold, and they have conducive properties. So scientifically, we'll get into a little later, there is science that both supports and does not support the idea that crystals have some kind of power or energy substance. And as I look at my reflection, I can only think of greasy one because of how my face is looking. But whatever, okay? We learn to laugh at ourselves, and that's all right. And if you can't see me, good. Good, but we are what we are and we're doing what we're doing. All right, so we're going to start with what the Bible says about crystals. And already, if you feel like this topic is going to be offensive, you're going to be offended by it, protect your peace by all means and just don't indulge. But if this is something that you're curious about, you've always wondered about, you kind of want a non-judgmental, unbiased perspective, then this is the place for that. All right. Okay, so here we are. What does the Bible say about crystals? The Bible mentions crystals and precious stones numerous times, but in one context, right? How is the Bible expressing crystals and in what way? It specifically talks about the beauty of them, their beauty, their value, their symbolic significance, the symbolism that they represent, which is a subtle reminder. However, it doesn't attribute any magical qualities, should we say, or healing or mystical powers to them. However, it does highlight a significance in what they represent. Okay, so that can look like, well, we'll get to it. Let me just stay in order. All right. Crystals and precious stones are often described as beautiful creations of God, highlighting his craftsmanship and glory. So this is specifically referring to the Bible. So if you don't resign or resonate with that, just skip this, okay? Because we're talking about the Bible and global spiritual perspectives. That's what we're talking about today. Okay. So Job 28:19, because Job is a good book of the Bible. Okay, it's got me through many things. Regardless of what I believe, it's got me through. It mentions the value of topaz. Okay, Proverbs 8:11 compares wisdom to rubies, emphasizes wisdom's superior value. Okay, ruby's superior value. Lamentations 4:7 uses rubies and lapis lazuli to describe the beauty of princes. Okay, there's symbolic significance without inherent power. Okay, that's what the Bible says. Priestly garments, Exodus 28:15 and 21, and 39 and 10 through 14. The breastplate of the high priest was adorned with 12 different precious stones, representing the 12 tribes of Israel. Their purpose was symbolic, not to grant power to the stones themselves. This is what people try to reiterate about crystals, that they have no symbolic power. However, how in the ever, each stone was attributed to a tribe based on their characteristics and qualities, right? So when you saw that stone, you were reminded of something. So all of these stones had significance in what they represented. So the representation of those stones did something. It brought awareness. It brought you back to a certain place. And that place was usually God's craftsmanship and glory. So these stones were used to also attribute praise and worship to God, but were valuable to man and did something for man. And that something is based on cultural significance and context beyond what is expressly written. We shall carry on. Okay, so heavenly descriptions is in Revelations 4:6. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Revelations 4:6, chapter 21 and verse 11, chapter 18 through 20, and chapter 22, verse 1. So the New Jerusalem and the throne of God are described with precious stones and crystal clear imagery, symbolizing purity, glory, and divine presence. This description emphasizes God's majesty, not just the stone's power, right? Everything about the stones is giving praise to the higher power. So everything that the stone represents is a reminder, right, for the greatness or goodness or magnificence of God, meaning that it's alerting you to something. It's serving a purpose. Yeah. Okay. And Ezekiel 1, chapter 1, verses 22 describes a likeness of an expanse shining like awe-inspiring crystal above the heads of living creature, again focusing on divine awe. Okay, and there are also warnings of occult practices. The Bible strongly warns against idolatry, witchcraft, sorcery, divination, and any practice that seeks spiritual power or guidance from sources other than God. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 condemns those who practice divination, interpret omens, or engage in sorcery. Ezekiel 13:20-21 speaks out against magical charms and amulets, which can include stones worn for protection or luck. Galatians 5:19-21 list witchcraft, pharmakia in Greek, which is essentially apothecary herbalism, sometimes linked to magical potions, charms, among ungodly behaviors. Biblical interpretation. From a biblical perspective, relying on crystals for healing, protection, or spiritual connection would be considered a form of idolatry or occult practices, as it places trust in created objects rather than in God. While appreciating their natural beauty is fine, attributing supernatural power to them is not aligned with biblical teachings. And so that is how the Bible views crystals. Okay? Are we clear with how the Bible views crystals in a way, right? They're used to highlight the importance or magnitude or wonder of God and his glory, not necessarily to do anything or create any difference in your life. Nah. Now, what does science, not nah, I wasn't saying nah, I was saying now. Now, what does other cultural beliefs, other religions and spiritual practices say about crystals? What does science say? What does everything else say about crystals? Crystals are gemstones and they have a rich, diverse history of use across countless cultures and spiritual traditions worldwide, often predating organized religion. Their perceived properties vary widely. Ancient civilizations such as Egypt, which many refer to as Kemet, used stones like lapis lazuli, turquoise, and carnelian for jewelry, amulets, and funerary objects. They were believed to offer protection, signify deity connection, or aid in the afterlife. The Book of the Dead includes spells on stones for the deceased. Let's take a moment. People are still confused about the markings and imagery and creation of the pyramids in Egypt or Kemet. And they are confused about their purpose. They're confused about the different structures and choice of stone and choice of use and functionality, and how certain stones can essentially create frequencies. This is science. It is not anything mystical or crazy or hoodoo voodoo scary spooky. It is literally when you step into this zone and you're using a tracker for frequencies and energy levels, they spike in certain areas to astronomical proportions, right? So that suggests that crystals or stones or minerals do have a purpose or capacity to do something. And that something is depending on the type of stone, right? We understand that quartz has the power to carry frequency and energy, so we use it in our watches. Yeah, that's why on the back it says quartz, because there's a quartz item in it and it's helping it continue to tick. Okay, there's a point and a power within that stone or crystal. Okay, and that is just science without bias. That is just what it is. That's just facts. Again, or is we use it for iron because it has a purpose. It has something that it does. Gold, silver, tin, all conductors of electricity and energy. They do something. Okay, it does something. The Sumerians and Mesopotamians utilized crystals for magic, healing, and protection. Ancient Greece and Rome, the word crystal comes from the Greek kristallos, meaning ice, as they believed clear quartz was permanently frozen water. Amethyst was believed to prevent drunkenness. Gems were used in amulets and offerings to deities. So, yeah, we're going to get to the pseudo effect later. Indigenous traditions. Native American tribes, many tribes incorporated crystals, especially quartz, into spiritual ceremonies. Healing rituals for divination, turquoise, for instance, was widely believed to offer protection and bring good fortune. Okay, so all these places weren't necessarily in contact with one another unless you believe we were traveling around, because the Vikings definitely had the ability to do that and definitely traded with places like Kemet, Egypt, and definitely, sold their boats and stuff. But it's in a book, so take a look. All this information is out there for you to gather if you already don't know that. But they were all living in different parts, different continents of the world, and still had some kind of reverence for these objects and understood that they did something. Okay, shamanistic practices across many indigenous cultures use specific stones as tools for healing, journeying, and connecting with spirits. Eastern religion and philosophies. Hinduism believes each stone carries specific energy and power, often associated with planets, deities, and chakras. Energy centers in the body. Science. It's not just hoodoo voodoo scary mysticism. That is actually based on rooted, researched science. Gems are used in astrology and for meditation purposes. In Buddhism, crystals, particularly clear quartz, are used in meditation to enhance clarity and focus. Okay, we still good. And sorry. To enhance focus. Sorry. Okay. Enhance clarity and focus. Gemstones are often found in mandalas or ritual objects for symbolic purposes, representing enlightenment or purity. Feng Shui, Chinese tradition, crystals are placed in specific areas of homes or buildings to harmonize energy, flow, qi, again, that's science, attract prosperity or balance elements. Jade is highly revered for good luck, health, and protection. Modern mystical and new age practices, crystal healing, which is considered a pseudoscience because it is considered a pseudoscience. This is perhaps the most widespread modern use of today. Practitioners believe crystals vibrate at specific frequencies that can interact with the body's energy field, clearing blockages, balancing chakras, and promoting physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. There is no scientific basis, so they say. But it's crucial to note that while I'm not even going to note this because I don't, that does just resonate because it's just not true. Minerals have a function. All minerals have a function. And those minerals, when they come in contact with the body, definitely affect the body. Okay. Ingesting iron does something for people that are anemic. It brings balance. And gold conducts energy. So it can either bring something to or repel something away. Right. So I think that is scientific basis. And I believe that whatever way you want to argue, you can. So if you're not in support of it and you think there's no scientific proof, then okay. If you believe that there is scientific proof, it's not even a word, scientific proof, then so be it. What I have gathered is that as you believe, so you become. So if you believe that this object, that object, whatever object is doing something, then it's doing something. And if you believe that it's not, the power of the mind says it is not. Okay? We believe what we want, and our mind is powerful enough to create whatever as a result of that. So it can be used in meditation and mindfulness as a focus point. It can promote relaxation and aid in specific intentions and help us really focus because it's pretty to look at sometimes. There are a lot of pretty little things and sparkles and glimmers that really make it easy to look at. It can also be helpful for protection and manifestation and be carried for talismans and protection still today. Astrology also uses specific crystals associated with zodiac signs and planetary influences. And there are pagan and Wicca beliefs where crystals are incorporated into spell work, rituals tied to moon cycles, and various magical intentions. However, as we see, that is not the sole purpose and use and belief for crystals. So you using crystals highly translates to what you believe and what you're using them for. Simply seeing crystals in somebody's house is not going to signify what they're using it for. Okay? You don't know what they lived, what they've been through, or where they're going, or what they use them for. They could simply be used to give glory and praise to God for his wonderful creations. They could be used because of the belief that they promote. They could be used for what they represent and remind us to connect into. They could be used for meditation, for balance. They could be used for so many things outside of Wicca and black magic and darkness and amulets and all these different things that people are terrified of experiencing, terrified of understanding or studying because they feel however they feel and they're entitled to feel that way. And I am not advocating for Wicca, okay? I'm not advocating for darkness or anything of that. I am just simply explaining a stance or perspective on crystals that may not have been considered, right? And it is for you to simply ask rather than assume how someone feels or views crystals, and what they have them for, okay? We can use them in whatever way. As our mind believes, perceives, that's what will create the benefit, because what's really powerful is our mind, which is connected where? Huh? Okay. That's my belief system. This is all my opinion now. It's all no science, no facts, no nothing. Just my opinion of the information that I've gathered over the decades, on what this can truly be. My favorite book of all time is The Alchemist. It is my favorite book. There is no book that I gush over more. I probably gush over all books depending on what I'm talking about, but this book right here, I love the whole series. Pablo, you are fantastic and amazing. I'm not sure if you're still living, but your books are phenomenal. So The Alchemist uses two crystals, a yes and a no, a black and a white. And it uses them for the purpose of asking God directly, what should I do? Yes or no? Whatever. So it was a tool used to connect directly to God, the God of the Bible, not anything else or another deity. So it's interesting. I challenge you to consider, would that be wrong? Because it's not supposed to be used for divination according to the Bible, or would that be something that would be okay because you're connecting directly to God to do it? And that is what you believe in your mind, that God is doing this. I wonder. But anyway, the book is really good, and if you haven't read The Alchemist, I recommend that you do. And if it's not apparent yet, I really enjoy books. I really enjoy the thoughts of other people because I'm nosy, and I like to know what goes on in the minds of others. Okay, because again, I'm nosy. And I enjoy reading, and it's getting into the minds of others and the thoughts and the creative capabilities and passions and focus points that people have and obsessions. And I love learning their knowledge. So The Alchemist is a really good book to do that. It's a great journey. You feel like you can really visualize. Well, if you're a visualizer and you love the idea of really putting yourself in the book, it's a great way to just have a really good journey, a really good experience with a journey that this person takes. And yeah, I love that for you, especially if you do the narrative audible experience, because the reader that they have, phenomenal storyteller. And I'm all about the storytelling. Okay, it is a good experience. All right, so this was my breakdown of crystals in my perspective, with my experience and my opinions and my facts and my research and my understanding of cultural differences and all of the different ways that crystals have been used in past traditions. But there is a commonality. There's a commonality there. And I'm going to touch on it. Okay, let's touch on it. Let's touch on it. Have you ever been to DC? District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. If you've been there and you love it there and it feels good and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like, I don't understand why. This is just so amazing. Why do I feel amazing here? Not to be that person, but it could be because you're surrounded by massive pieces of stone. okay, that carry electric charges. They do. And that is science. There is science to prove that, even though people say there isn't, and it's pseudoscience. There is science that proves that these massive pieces of stone, when shaped in certain directions, do transmit energy. And that energy can sometimes be very grounding, peaceful, and positive, and provide some sense of awe or reverence. What is that reverence in regard to? Maybe the United States, but it's a reverence nonetheless. We stand in awe, and sometimes it's not because of the really massive statue, but the material these statues are made out of. Okay, you are in a place with all of this energy surrounding you, and I don't know if it's just my personal experience, but I had a good time. Okay, the people are different there, and the vibe is different there, and the blackness is beautiful there. Okay, um, so that could be my own mind because of my belief system, seeing it that way, but it served me to see it that way and have a good old time, surrounded by all these rocks because I like them, and I've always liked them. I've always gravitated to rocks because they're pretty, they're shiny. I just love to have them. And as a kid, I would find the geodes with the shiny insides, like amethyst and other citrine and different conductors of energy and beauty because of the colors. They're just, oh wow, how was this created? This is amazing. So it does something for me, and it brings me joy and peace and all of those different things. And um, if you also like rocks, that's okay. Okay, there's professions dedicated to liking rocks, and whatever attributes that you give to them is what you give to them. And it doesn't have to be dark or evil or spooky. It could just be that you love rocks. I love rocks. Okay, I'm not afraid to say it. I like them. They're pretty. I like to collect them. I have massive amounts that I got rid of because I was scared, and a lot of other stuff. But look, rocks are rocks. And I've come to my own acceptance of what they are for me and what they do for me. And that's my business. It is. It really is. And just don't assume that you know what that business is. Okay? Uh mind your sphere of control. And it ain't what I'm doing with my rocks. Okay? Um yeah. So there we are. Here we are. And I will end with the concept that um, whatever we believe in, we can find reasons to honor that or dishonor it. And it's all up to what we have in our mind, right? And we are in control of nothing else but how we view and see things. And my goal for this podcast is to um, shift our energy collectively so that we have more freedom and we don't allow ourselves to be bind to things that do not serve us, and fears and concerns that will not help us for what truly matters in the work that has to be done in this world, within ourselves and within our families. So I appreciate you for taking time out today to go through this journey with me as I discuss crystals and my perspective on it. Okay, I thank you so much, and I'm very grateful for you taking this journey with me, wherever you are, at whatever time, in whatever way, looking like you looking. And yeah, I love you. Okay, bye.